Hello and welcome to the Get Messy podcast. Jenna today stepping in for our fairy art mother, Kaylee Gray. You may know me as Jenna's Tonic on Instagram. I'm continuing the messy conversations with our guardian community. The Get Messy Guardians is a group of Get Messians who volunteer their time to guide and support the Get Messy community. Today, I'm chatting with Gilly Welch about her art practice. Gilly, will you just say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
So here's Jilly's short little bio. Gilly is an avid paper lover and creates in some form every single day. She lives on the north coast of Cornwall, UK, regularly walking the coastal path for inspiration. She's constantly learning new skills and loves nothing better than finding different ways to incorporate all or part of these into her art journals. Today, I'm going to ask her some questions about her art practice. So I encourage our listeners to create as we go along here. Gilly, are you ready?
I am ready. Yep,
All
definitely.
right. All right. So we'll start with the big one. Why do you art journal?
It really helps me relax and to de-stress. And I think in times like we are at the moment,
Mhm.
I have noticed I'm not somebody who is normally too bothered about things. I'm usually quite relaxed, quite laid back.
Mhm.
But I found recently that I can feel myself getting very anxious, very
Mhm.
sort of worked up over things. And I know if I sit down at my desk and I pick up my journal, whichever one it is, and a glue stick and some papers, and I just start putting stuff down, whether
Yeah.
I'm going to finish it, whether it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in the slightest. But that really, I immediately I can feel myself just calming down, and the longer I can sit there, the better it is.
Yeah.
So for me, it is just a time to forget everything else, to just do what I want to do. Um, and I can go in any direction. That's the joy of art journaling. There are no rules, there's no pre-concept, it's whatever you want it to be. And some days it's minimal, some days it's everything, some days I'm angry, and I can tell how I am
Right.
to how I'm working.
Right.
But I know that it will make me feel better, for
I
sure.
love that your focus is on relaxation because I think that's important for a lot of people to hear because they might come in with this idea that, oh, I need to be artistic, which is a super loaded word, or I have to make something that always looks good or something like that. And instead, like, that's not even the point for you.
No, not at all. Not, and because I'm not artistic, I'm creative. I love papers. I love color, shapes, textures. I don't know where it's going. And I mean, while I was sort of like just sitting here for sort of 10 minutes, I've got a page that I'd cleaned some brushes on and some stencils the other day, and I've just literally spent, I don't know, 2 minutes, because I'm on my desk, which is always messy. There was some black and white text from a book, and I've now stuck that in. But it's not finished, it's not done. But today I have done other stuff. But if that was
Yeah.
it, it's something, and it will grow and develop over time, which is what, for me, works the best.
So, how do you live a creative life?
Well, like you said in the intro, I do something every day.
Every day.
So I don't necessarily art journal every day, although I would normally put something down in a book,
Mhm.
even if it's, to say, it's just a layer, or um, some papers, or something. But I cook. I'm recently got to a lot more into photography, and I love the fact of going out and just looking around what there is. And
Yeah.
once you actually start looking with a sort of a photographic eye, you find lots of detail. You're looking for the unusual. You're looking for anything that grabs my eye. Whether
Yeah.
it's a particular shape or a leaf or a color of a leaf or the way the leaves have fallen. Sometimes it can just be, oh, look, that's really pretty, that
Yeah.
pattern there on the ground. So, and because we do walk such a lot, then there's always something to see. The weather's
Mm-hmm.
either different, so the clouds maybe, and a tree that looks boring quite often, suddenly the sun's out and it's caught the glimpse, and you think, oh, that looks really nice. So I get inspiration all around, and I'm not very good at doing the same things over and over. I love
Yeah, me too.
finding new ways. Yeah, I can't, even if it's like journals, I have to, if I'm making one, it's got to be different to
Mm-hmm.
what I've done before. It's either a new way of binding it, or it's a new, I don't know, cover or different papers. And I know if I use different papers inside, not just plain ones, or that will stretch me to be more
Mm-hmm.
creative, because you've got to do something perhaps a little bit different. And I just love learning new things.
Yeah.
I must be an advertiser's dream, I think, because they'll come up with something and I'm thinking, oh, that looks great. And no, I don't need any more classes, but
Mm-hmm.
well, I
And
could
like the
always, yeah,
Instagram algorithm, it starts to get
yeah,
used to you, and it's like,
yeah.
here's a new art class, here's some like new journals, and you're like, this is evil, but
I know.
awesome, but awesome.
Yes, well, I know, I know. I mean, I've just done another one today. I think it was Claire, um, oh, I'm not sure. Claire Everidge. Anyway, she's
Etheridge.
just done
Mhm.
yeah, she's just done a Dina Wakely jelly plate one. It was a live one on Facebook, I think. And I thought, do you know what? I haven't had my jelly plate out for ages, and I love it, and I do know what to do. And I thought, well, maybe she's got a different stance. Maybe it's because I love
Mhm.
what Claire does, and so I've just signed up. So yeah, but I'm sure. But what the thing I'm coming to do about the creative life, even though I jelly print and do lots of stuff, there's bound to be something that I will take from it that I didn't know how to do, or didn't think, oh, I didn't realize I could use that, whatever it is,
Right.
product, because I'm sure I've got it. Um, with yes, it's just exciting to see somebody different doing something in a slightly different way, and then I'll be able to incorporate that in what I do. It's the little
Yeah.
pieces
I've
building
found
together.
that I used to get more about like, oh, I have to finish this thing and use this thing up and all that. But I've found I trust myself a lot more increasingly. And then because I've seen in my practice how something loops around and it's like, oh, this was the right time for this thing. It ends up
Mm,
working out. And so I give myself a lot more freedom with that sort of thing now. Because it all kind of ends up usually working out in some interesting way for me. Like I impulse purchased some oil pastels because I saw them, Francesca, Season of Bloom, and I was just like, pretty. Um, and then I just really couldn't get a feel for them. And then I started Vanessa's in our heroine class, and then I started using them in that, and I was like, oh, this is how this makes sense to
mm.
me, and I love how they look, and I found a way to use them and incorporate them in a way I really like. It just needed the right time.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's what's so great about art journaling, is that you can it encompasses everything, absolutely everything, and you make it what you want it to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that actually leads well into our next question. How do you define art journaling?
Well, I think I probably just said it. I think it really is whatever you want it to be on whatever day. You know, I've got so many different journals depending on how I'm feeling or what I'm doing, and it's lovely to look along and think, yeah, I'm going to use that journal today, or I'm going to try this, or I read somewhere that art journaling was a form of creative self-care, and I thought, do you know what, for me that's perfect. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly, it's doing it for me. I'm doing it, I'm choosing what I do. I choose what products I'm going to do or what stencils. And it's like, oh yes, today I'm going to use my brayer, or it's just it's just so freeing that there are no boundaries, no rules. Yeah, and I think anybody sort of starting needs to just not even worry what they've got, just do it. And I think it's the doing it, not the thinking about it, or the
Mm-hmm.
worrying whether you've got the right things or not things, or is that straight or not straight, or crikey, what's anybody going to think? Just forget it. Absolutely forgetting it, because it's whatever you want it to be,
Mm-hmm.
and make the most of that. And yeah, you won't go far. You won't go far wrong.
So you mentioned like creating every day, and I remember seeing you as a part of the season of habits. So do you have any particular barriers to creating that get in the way sometimes? And if so, how do you overcome them?
No, I was thinking about this, and I don't. However, I am such a messy person, because my mind, I think, is going into overdrive a lot of the time, because I'm either on Instagram or I have a quick look at Pinterest, and I'm thinking, oh, I'm a bit like a magpie with anything sort of shiny. Oh, that's a nice idea. I'll sort of keep that for later, and I could be working on something, and then so I get lots of things out. So my only barrier is that sometimes the space on my desk gets smaller and smaller. And when I end up with my journal on my lap because there is nowhere to put it, then I know I need to tidy up. However, what I have learned is if I tidy up too much, the inspiration goes.
Hmm.
So I cannot, if I'm, it's really hard, isn't it? If I'm wanting to be creative, I need a certain mess around me.
Certain mess. Yeah, I think that's really key. A certain mess.
A
Yeah.
certain mess. I need things to be able to sort of get my sort of creative juices going, but not so much that I'm either knocking things over, because then that gets stressful. It's totally the opposite to when I cook.
Yeah.
When I'm in the kitchen, I have to have such a clean space. It has to be, yeah, it's in order, it's clean. I know exactly what I'm sort of like doing, and it's there. Whereas in my room with art journaling, or when I'm just creating, I need lots of stuff around, and it is a mess. And I know lots of people would look at it and think, oh, how on earth can you do it? But it helps me. It does help me, but not too much. So yeah, it's getting that balance. Um,
That's funny because I also cooking's a creative outlet for me. And I actually I cook pretty similar, like my pattern is pretty similar to art journaling. I'm pretty tidy and I clean up as I go. But one thing with art journaling I've found is that it's helpful to like leave out the most recent page or thing I've been working on or finished, because that's inspiration for me. So when I'm feeling like, oh, I don't want to make something, but I see what I recently created and I'm like, hey, that looks really cool. That is also like a good little Kickstarter for me to keep going.
yeah,
I've actually used a recipe book holder and put my art journals in it as like inspiration on my desk.
nice. Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that working. I mean, I just love little bits of paper. So I'm forever tearing them up. And sometimes that's just the inspiration I need. Sometimes it can be, oh, that's a really nice colour. So
Yeah.
today I use that colour, or I'll use, that. Oh, then what can I have to go with that? Or I might just pick up here. I've got a tea bag, but it had berries in it, and it's just such a pretty colour. I know I'm going to use that one day, but it's just kicking around. I could put it away in a box and tidy it up,
Mhm.
but then if it's away, it does look nice when it's tidy. I do like that, but I can't then, it doesn't help me then
It
to
just doesn't work for you. Yeah.
work at all.
No,
No,
my
no.
old roommate would when she would cook, she would destroy the kitchen, but man, was it delicious food.
Oh.
So I was happy to be like, I'll clean up, don't worry about it. Just you cook. Cuz so
No,
the you know that some people, it's just interesting how those different things work for us a little differently. So what's
Mm.
been your biggest lesson when it comes to creating art?
I think, to be honest, if you've got a minute, if you've got 5 minutes, it's amazing what you can get done in a very, very short
Yeah.
space of time. And quite often, if I've got a busy day, but I'm at home and I've
Hmm.
got a busy day, the first thing I do when I get up is put a layer down. Even
Hmm.
if it's just 30 seconds, it might just be a palette knife out, a bit of paint, and I'll just put that on. Then I'll go and have breakfast, because I know then when I've got another minute or 2 minutes,
Yeah.
I can quickly come back up and I'll put something else on. And it's best for me not to think too much to
Yeah.
start with. Just get something down. And if you then got a busy day, things will have then dried, which is much better, because if I sit down, I get impatient and then I'll mess pens up or whatever, because
Yep.
um, I won't wait till it's dry.
Lost
And
so
then
many
I'm thinking,
pens that way.
this is sort of instant gel medium or something, and then that's it, or the felt pen, and it won't ever work again. So I know we're all busy and lead busy lives, but actually realizing that small bits often make a huge difference, and you'll find by the end of the day, or even over a couple of days, or even by the end of the week, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute. By the time you've got to the week, that's like 7 minutes, and you can get a surprising amount done. You don't think, I've got to have an hour, or I've got to have it all afternoon, or whatever. Just little bits, and you'll find that you'll be creating and
Mhm.
enjoying what you're doing.
I find your process so inspiring because I started art journaling before my son was born. And I was used to sort of those uninterrupted periods of time. And now my son, he's 2.5. And that's really how I end up having to work. And it's taken actually quite an adjustment for me. And definitely also, even I would argue, even more appreciation for that, being more process oriented, just because, yeah, it is, oh, a minute here or there, and then he's distracting me. Or when I've tried to sneak in art time with him and he's doing it with me, I'm like, oh, this is a good excuse for me to do art, but then I look over and he's got paint all over his hands
I
and
know.
it's like, ah. So
Yes.
I
Yeah.
really
No,
like your process and approach.
I think I think that has overcome, because I feel so much better. Even if I've just literally, even if it's just that day, the days that I don't get to my desk until perhaps later at night,
Yeah.
and it's not the best time, I get I sort of get cross, and that I haven't had a chance. Whereas if I do it first thing in the morning, I know then that I've already done something, and then
Hmm.
I'm more keen to think, because then as I'm working, I'm thinking, so what can I add to that color, or what could be
Hmm.
my next step? So I've already thought about it. So the moment I get up here, escape from my own house, but yeah. So the moment I get up here, I've already thought, right, I'm going to use that color, or I'm going to use that product or that stencil, and then I'll just do another minute
So
or
it's
two.
like that
Sometimes I can get
that
more.
first that morning layer, it creates your momentum for the day.
Yeah, and then if for any reason I don't get to it till later, at least I know I have actually done something that
Yeah.
morning. And usually, as I say, by the time I get back to it, it's dry, and I can then easily do the next bit. But mentally, it helps me, because I'm not thinking all the time, oh, I can't get to my desk, or oh, I've not done anything yet, and I
Mhm.
get all sort of tense. So at least I know that first thing in the morning before breakfast, I've done a little something, a little something.
So that's actually another great lead into our next question. What is the best art advice you've ever received?
Oh, it's really hard, but I think is just, don't worry, be individual. Everybody's individual, and don't compare yourself to anybody, um, because you have to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing.
Mhm.
And I do it. It is hard to start with, because you do have a lot of self-doubt, and you do, when you put things out there, think, oh crikey, when you look at other people's. But I think that's always the case. I'm always looking at other people to think that, that's so good, and oh, I wish I could sort of do that or draw or whatever. But I think if you're happy and with what you're doing, and you're doing it for yourself, you're not doing it for anybody else. I put stuff on Instagram when I want to. I create every day. I don't share everything every day. But it's for me, and however much I want to take from it, sort of to grow myself or not grow or do, it's down to me, and I'm not doing it for anybody else. And I think that was, once I realized that, and if I'm not happy with something, or I won't necessarily put it out there. I'm not, or if I haven't put something on every day, it doesn't bother me. I know that I'm creating. I know that I'm doing different things that I want to do. And to the rest of the world, well, whatever people want to decide, it's me that I have to answer to.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
And the thing is, most people actually really respond to that. They like when you're true to yourself, it ends up like it creates a snowball effect for others. And so they're drawn
Yeah.
to that. I have to remind myself of that a lot.
I'm so not good with words. But I can create. I can almost, I prefer to do it with sort of colors and shapes, and whether there's a lot, whether there's a little, or whatever. And I think that helps me, because at the moment I start to try and put words down, and I know it is journaling, and I know there are times when it is great, you might get your thoughts out and then cover it up or whatever. But when I might put words on after I've put something on Instagram or whatever, because I don't know, I cringe sometimes at my attempt to. Some people can just get it right, and yeah, anybody that's worried about it, just don't worry.
So do the words, like, are you saying like the words come for you like kind of after you've created?
Quite often, yes. But I'm not hung up anymore about the words. Or sometimes I might have got, like, I don't know, not a blank page, but a page without any words, and I'll be scrolling through Instagram or Pinterest, and I'll see a quote, and I think, and that really like resonates with me, and I think, oh, that's amazing, I love that. What page can I? And then I'll have a look through. Sometimes I think, oh, that will go, for whatever reason, it will go nicely on that page. So I'll either handwrite it out or type it out or whatever. And sometimes that comes at the same time. But so yeah, I don't have to finish. I don't have to think, oh, I've got to put some words on here now if it doesn't feel right, or I'm not sure that that's the right moment sort of to do it. So whereas I think to start with I used to, and then I look back and think, oh yeah, that's not either quite right, or it doesn't matter now. It really doesn't matter.
So what is your go-to technique or tool?
I love paper. I collage paper. Collage paper, glue, maybe some scissors or tear, or and you can do it. I did the 100-day project last time with little ATCs, and working small's really good, and just doing tiny, you use tiny little bits of paper. But I've got boxes and boxes of scraps, bits that seriously people, I will have to sort of clear out, I think, before my kids ever decide that they're going to have to sort of like clear my stuff for me, because they'll look through some of the boxes and they'll think, what is this? This box is like come from the bottom of the bin or whatever. But little bits are really interesting, and sometimes just making a page or a small thing with little bits makes me very happy. But I've got boxes with bigger bits, and so definitely my go-to technique to start off with is collage. Is just and sometimes I even will put some paint down, or maybe a little bit of watercolor, and then it gives me a theme or a color. Then I'll look through my box and I'm going to use just blues today. What blues have I got? And then you can find different shades of blue. But there's always something interesting that you can do with little bits of paper, I think.
So what do you do when you don't like a page you've made?
I keep going. I will keep going. I'm not very good of having something in a journal that I don't like. Because every time I open it, if I go through it, it's like a magnet. I will stop at that page and I think, I don't like that page. And
I get that,
It really bothers me. So I will work it. It might not be that day, but I will, because sometimes when you look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, I'll think, oh, do you know what? That just needs such and such. Or if I just put that on there, but I'm sorry, I can't have pages in my journals. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are some that I'm not overly happy with, but there's nothing actually wrong with them. But if it really jars with me, if every time I look at it, I think that's just awful, I can't, for whatever reason, I have to do something about it. I won't tear it out. I won't remove it, because usually there's either something on the back or, but I will work on it. I will work on it till it's okay. Or sometimes I'll show it to somebody else. That can help, because sometimes you can just get stuck, or you can get sort of tunnel vision. So somebody else will look at it and think, oh, you could do, and I'm always open for suggestions. I'm never too humble for anybody to I will ask. And whether I listen, whether I take it on board, I think, oh no, that's not what I want to do. But sometimes it'll be just right, and it's worth a try. It's always worth a try. There's always more, unless you actually end up with it like, I don't know, an inch thick or something. You can
because you keep adding layers. You're like, no, not this, not this. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, because that's the other question, isn't it? Sometimes when do you stop? I think you stop when you like it.
Yeah.
When you feel enough.
Yeah. Exactly. So have you ever been through artistic block?
No, I think no is the answer.
Yeah.
Although we come back to when I have had a serious tidy, which was a little while ago, and it was incredibly tidy. I sat down and there was nothing, absolutely nothing around. And I sat there and it was like, oh, so what am I going to do then? And everything was like away. And that I found incredibly hard. Incredibly hard. Yeah, because normally there's something around that will, as I say, it could just be a colour or a bit of washi tape, or I'll look for inspiration anywhere, and then it'll just set me off. But with nothing around, it was, I couldn't cope. I couldn't cope with that at all. It didn't last very long, I will say, but I did remember sitting down and freezing almost, because there was nothing that gave me the inspiration. So definitely some things around, not too many, but enough to take me down a path that to start anyway. To start. And also having half pages in journals. Having something, whether it's to say you've cleaned a brush or a brayer, or something with something on, so it's not a blank page.
That's why I love junk journals.
Yeah, definitely. Or just any, a lot of my art journals, even if when you come to sit down, you end up covering it completely.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Usually you can see something underneath it, or as another layer. But yeah, that definitely helps.
Well, that actually, so I saw on Instagram that you're doing the 100 days project again, and you have done it for the last 3 years, right? And you've
Um,
completed it?
yes, yes, every single time. Um, yes, 3 years. The first year I started doing, they were patchworks, but they were all hand sewn.
Hmm.
So I just did a row of stitching. I didn't measure.
Hmm.
I cut the fabric just to fit, and I think they call it log cabin. So you start with a small bit and you put one piece on, and you. So I ended up with lots of different squares, um, which was really good, really good. I
Yeah.
think the next year I did something creative every day, and then last year I did 100 days of ATCs, um, which was which was great. It's a long time,
It
so
is.
it
I've
is a
done
long
it.
time.
I've done it, completed it once.
Yeah, yeah. I will. I'm definitely doing it again this year, but I'm going to going back to hand stitching.
Okay.
I was given a book on Boro, Boro, which I think is a Japanese way of
Hmm.
making sort of reusing um, sort of garments and patching them and sort of then handing them down. And there's particular sort of stitches called sashiko, sort of like running stitches, and you can have patterns. So I'm going to use an old pair of jeans that I'm going to make into like a messenger bag. It's going to have patchwork underneath, but I can, so the 100 days I
Oh,
will
cool.
have it finished. So if some days I've only got a small amount of time to do it, but
Hmm.
the 100 days I need to have it finished. So some days I might have to end up doing a lot depending on um,
So
how
what
far I've
what
got.
advice would you give to somebody who was starting a 100-day project? Because clearly you have been successful at it.
Um, Keep it simple. Keep it really, really simple, because the days come round so fast, and there's a lot of excitement and inertia to start with
Oh,
because you're keyed up, and then after like 10 days you're thinking, oh, this is great, and then you think, crikey, I've got 90 days to go, and it's a mountain. It is a mountain, and it's every single day. So it's not like just doing a week and then having a week off. And so, yeah, if by 40, 50, 60, you're thinking, I've still got a long time to go. So pacing
right.
yourself, keeping it really, really simple, so that I think for me, it's like, if you want to do a lot, you can, but if you don't feel that so if you keep it simple to something very, very
Hmm.
basic, if that's all you manage to do, you've done it. Whereas
Right.
if you feel to start with that you've failed or you're not keeping up to date, then the momentum to keep going is really hard. Whereas if you can think every day, oh yeah, I've managed that
Hmm.
today, then you're almost like keen to keep going and doing it the next day because
Yes.
you're actually building each day on another
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
So with
It's like if you give up if you've set the bar so high, you're like, well, I can't reach it. What's the point? As opposed to like just keeping it super simple. Cause if you achieve that, oh, cool. And then maybe one day you do a lot of extra stuff. And that's just like a
yeah,
added bonus.
bonus, it is. And then yes. So with the ATCs, I might have cheated a little, and I didn't cheat, but I think if I'm right, it started on something like the 6th or 7th of April.
Uh-huh.
But I started mine on the 1st. So I had a few days in hand. So when it started, I
Yeah.
obviously started with the first one, but I had already, so that
You already had a little
if
bit going.
I had a little bit going, so if I had a day where, um, I don't know, something happened, it was almost like some, like get out of jail free cards. It was sort of like, it was allowed me
Hmm.
to not have to necessarily, if I hadn't managed to finish one, I wasn't going to beat myself up, because although I started a bit earlier, I did actually manage to do, but it was mentally, it was helpful because I knew I got some in the bag already done.
So
But if however you,
this is like how much the get messy like philosophy has gotten into my head. Um, this past last May, I had surgery on my knee. And when I was in physical therapy, I had this great physical therapist, and he was so positive and so just like the way he would support me and comment on what I was good at, even though I mean, I wasn't in shape before anything like that, but just kind of the praise he gave and how he did it. I was thinking like, this is really a great example of how this sort of positive, like in setting the bar low, keeps us going to greater and greater things.
yes,
And I was really thinking it from that, from the art journaling perspective of just those little things, little positive steps to keep going forward,
yeah,
even in that
and
moment.
then, yeah, and then at the end, you know, you've got a huge amount of
Exactly.
something. But I would also make it something that you really enjoy doing,
Right.
because if it's already a task, or so I wouldn't necessarily learn something new that you're going
Hmm.
to sort of struggle with. So have something that is, to start with, even easy, because you can always add, as I say, add to it, but just don't make it too complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So what tips then do you have for beginners?
Um, just keep going. Just don't, yeah, don't beat yourself up, and don't think you need huge amounts of supplies. I think we all love supplies. We all love, well, I certainly, love treating myself
I
and
do.
things. Yeah, well, I think we all do. But sometimes, well, I think sometimes when you're starting, that can become overwhelming,
Mhm.
and that's not what it's about. It's not, because I know when, because I do travel journals as well, and
Mhm.
the last few years when we've been away, I actually complete them completely when we're away. I don't bring
Yeah.
them back unfinished. Um, so sometimes just having one little bag or two bags with your scissors, a pen, a glue stick, maybe a magazine, and a book, you can, and I think you actually use your imagination more than sitting here thinking, oh, crikey, what colour? Should I use that shade? Should I use that shade? Or should I use a golden one? Oh, I've got some
Right.
liquid. It really can become very, very overwhelming. I think to start with, keep it simple. Just keep it, and watch videos, watch other people, watch anything that you're going to suddenly later on, or even think, oh yeah, that I can do that, or that goes with that. And suddenly there's been lots of light bulb moments for me when I sort of see somebody, or I might, some of it goes over my head, but there'll be something that you will then use
Mhm.
to build your sort of knowledge base and your process base. And there's lots and lots of free tutorials out there, people wanting to show you what they do, um,
I
and
love
you'll pick up.
creating alongside videos. I find it very like I can't not do it with them. I'm just like, I can't just watch this. I have to do something.
Yes, yeah, and you don't have to buy classes either. So, there are classes out there, but there are people that are so happy to show you what they do. So if you just use YouTube, I mean, you can find everything and anything on a YouTube channel.
Yes. Yes.
So if you just, if you've got a product and you're not sure what to do with it or whatever, just YouTube it, somebody else's interpretation of how they use it, and then try that for a little while. But certainly for beginners, just don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
Mhm.
Just, and there are no rules.
No
There
rules.
are no rules. No rules.
So, what do you do when you don't know what to make?
I think I probably would go to maybe some paints that I haven't used, because it's very easy sometimes just to keep picking out the ones you like, and the ones at the bottom of
Right.
the basket or the
The
bag
same
don't get.
colors. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really helpful to have a look through and find something that you've not used, or a stencil. The season of less I found with Barbara Graham, I think it was,
Yeah.
I think that was just 3 colors, and I had 3 colors. Well, there was 3 colors with a
Yes.
white and a black.
Yep.
And for me, that was inspirational, because I
Yes.
managed to create so many new colors. And the beauty of that was, with like collage papers, they all go together,
Hmm.
because you've only used like 3, and whatever you sort of put them or do with them, they all seem to just work, which
Yeah.
it was fascinating, absolutely
Well, and
fascinating.
I
But
think that goes back to what you were saying before about your travel journal and having just those limited supplies, and
mm,
actually taking out a lot of the choices helps you then to actually create. Yeah, I
yes,
loved Season of Less for that same reason. I thought it was terrific.
yes, no, I learned sort of a lot from that. But again, yeah, just keeping it simple. I think that's definitely my motto, I think.
Your motto. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how do you find time to make things?
I think if you want to do it badly enough, then you will find time.
Hmm.
Because I always try and think to myself, there's 24 hours in a day. I sort of sleep for what, 7. So that's 17 hours. And then when I start breaking it down, I'm thinking, I've got more than enough time. And as we said, just sometimes a layer, or I think it's what your priorities are,
Hmm.
because I don't ever get up and not wash my face. I don't ever get up and I don't brush my teeth, or I don't, there's so many things that I do. I wouldn't ever think of not having breakfast or lunch or dinner.
Hmm.
So I think if you can incorporate that into your day, that actually it's important. It's a must do rather than a nice to do.
Yeah.
And I think for my own creative well-being, I have to do it. I have to do something, because that's what keeps me going, and what I just love every day is creating something.
I think, and I realized for a long time I did this, treating it like a necessity is so important because I knew I wanted to do it, but I still would be like, well, I'll do it after I get, like these other things I need to get done, chores, things like that. And I would treat it like a reward.
Mm,
And then of course it never happened because there's
never happened.
always something to be done. I could always, you know, do more than just dust the parts of the house people can see, which I barely even do that. So, yeah, making it a necessity, not just like your reward for doing all your other things, but no, this is how like you said, this is how I relax, and relaxation is
Mm,
crucial. That's a necessity too. I
it
think
is.
that's a big mindset change for a lot of us. It took me a while.
Yes, because I think sometimes you feel selfish, or if I
Yeah.
come up and I haven't, I don't know, emptied the dishwasher, or there's a pile of ironing. Well, so what? That will be there tomorrow. I mean, now it's just my husband and I. But even when the kids were sort of growing up, well, there's the iron, there's the ironing board. If it's that important, then you need to learn how to do it. Because it is for my sanity. I have to be doing something.
Yeah. Sanity,
Um,
especially right now.
more and I feel really sorry for people that don't have a creative outlet. I
Hmm.
think people that are reliant on either playing video games or not doing anything. It must be horrific. And I
Hmm.
don't mean that sort of badly, but I think with lockdown, we've been in lockdowns now for quite some time, on and
Hmm.
off. And I do feel guilty sometimes, because I'm happy. I'm happy at home, and I've got so many things that will keep me going. Not that I would want it because I don't see my granddaughters, but there's not a day where I think, oh my goodness, what am I going to do today?
Yeah.
There are, yeah, there's always something that I can be doing and look forward to doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look forward to it.
Well, Julie, that's all my questions. I'm so glad and so thankful that you joined and also did this again with me. We had a bit of when I was just learning things, we had a bit of have a restart. So Julie's been very patient with me. So I'm working my way through the Get Messy community, and there's more to come. Julie, do you have any last thoughts or anything you want to share?
Um, no, but I would just say to anybody that's got um, any questions or not sure about anything, the Get Messy community is fabulous. There'll be somebody out there that knows the answer. So don't ever think, or I'm either stuck or I don't know what to do or I can't carry on because I've not done X, Y, and Z. Put it out there because somebody will have the answer. Somebody will put you on the right tracks to continuing and yeah, good luck.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time.